Good morning, every guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Looks like we're still waiting on him. But I spoke to him 10 minutes ago, so I know he's coming.
How's everybody doing?
Got
All right.
the dream.
Fantastic.
At least that's what we're going to tell herself.
How's that working?
I'll have to get back to you. No, I just sent you the link, and I sent you a text saying, check your email.
Got Jessica in there twice.
Well, if one's good, two's better, right?
I'm not sure either one's working.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why it's on there twice. I'm just here once, I promise.
Is this the part where you clone yourself like everybody wants to do?
Oh,
Have you found
I
a way?
wish that I could, because I would have one person sitting here at the mechanic office and one person on this call.
Oh, gee. That's dedication, you know.
It is, but I'm here.
We appreciate that.
There he is.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hey,
Morning.
Scott,
Hi.
Billy.
Hello, sir.
Well, it looks like we have a full house this morning, Scott.
We do, sir.
Okay, then it is past the hour. I apologize for my tardiness. Why don't we go ahead and call our meeting to order? Let's see, Scott, if you could let the records reflect that all three commissioners are present.
Will do.
And we have our minutes from our last meeting of, was that 9/28?
9:28. Yes, sir.
Okay, is there a motion for approval of those?
I'd like to make the motion to approve those as presented.
Thank you, Judge.
I'll second that, please.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Thank you. Minutes are approved. Scott, it looks like item 4 is a pretty big deal for you.
It is. We have completed the scoring process. The panel was Andrew, myself, Jessica, and Tammy Cool, our senior auditor. And now Jessica's put together this executive summary about what the next steps are. It's got the costs that we're looking at, but I'll have Jessica hit the high points here since she's joined us here, and we'll talk about it. You've got some cost information in there. And what we're looking for today is to your approval to move forward with this as we go into the contract negotiation phase. And of course, at some point, if the contract negotiation yields any material change in this, we would obviously come back to you. So Jessica, you want to take it away?
Yeah, so just like Scott said, what we wanted to do was put together some tentative information about what we know the terms of the contract will be, even though the contract doesn't yet exist. We have notified the vendor that they've been selected. I believe that's where we're at in the process, as well as letting the other vendors know that they were not selected throughout the process. But because it has been rather lengthy, we wanted to go ahead and get tentative approval. So since we know the gist of the terms of the contract, specifically what services they are going to provide, what they're not going to provide, and then most importantly, the cost. We put that together here with the estimated monthly cost as well as the average annual cost estimate for what our current volume of mail will be. Now, of course, all of this is subject to change as we grow and the mail volume changes, the cost will increase. But right now, based on last year's numbers, this is what the monthly and average annual cost would be for the lockbox services, as we have requested the proposal. So anything that we add a la carte, or if we decide to in some way improve or advance our services, that cost will change. And like Scott said, any material changes would have to be brought to the board for approval. But we wanted to go ahead and get tentative approval so that we could begin that contract negotiation phase. And the services to be provided are set forth there, as well as our next steps and what will be the formal process of entering this contract. But I don't know if Andrew wants to add anything to it, but it should be a relatively smooth process. This is Fifth Third is the vendor that we've selected. So someone very familiar with this process that other municipalities use. So we don't foresee any issues or any material changes to the cost estimates, but that's the basic information that we have that we're seeking that tentative approval on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jessica, it seems that I understand that other services would be à la carte. And if we changed our approach, that might be a little more expensive. But their ability to produce this kind of data for us ought to be infinitely scalable, so that as we grow, their ability to scale this with us ought to be just really simple.
It really will be. I mean, they showed us, the best of what they've got, and we're going to be somewhere right in the middle of the services that they provide. But in terms of innovation for our office, it's going to revolutionize the way the staff is able to work. We estimate that will free up 4 to 6 hours a day per staff member to continue audits and compliance projects that will generate more revenue than the administrative side of the mail. So I think for us, what we know we need right now, this is the cost. And then in the future, if we decide to go somewhere else, more digitization or something like that, we're going to have to look at the cost again. But for both Scott and I, when we looked at it, we were very surprised at the cost. We thought it would be much higher for what they're providing, because not only will this be the complete takeover of our deposit process, but it will also be an end date to paper records for our office. So they will begin digitizing all of our mail, which means that over time, we're going to be able to get rid of all of the paper, all the filing, all of that. So it will really change how we operate. And the cost to me seems minimal for what it will do for us. Scott, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but.
Well, only to the mayor's point, this particular vendor is currently doing this for both Louisville and Lexington. And so, of course, the size and scope and scale of those operations are infinitely larger than ours. So to your point, Mayor, absolutely, they can certainly do this for us now. And they can certainly handle the growth that we have experienced here over the last, 10 years, really, the growth of Georgetown and Scott County in general, and the growth that we've done here in the past 6 years at the Revenue Commission. They'll easily be able to grow with us.
Are there any of those a la carte services that you all talked a little bit about that you find kind of intriguing, that you could see that being something that we might come to the table to consider in the future?
Our primary, the RFP that we put out was pretty much strictly for the lockbox service to take over the deposit, pick up the mail, take over the deposit, digitize the records, file and archive those for us so that we can get on record retention schedules rather than having us manually have to do record retention. Will now be in an auto schedule for all new records that can just be purged digitally. So that's what we were looking for. But they did show us a lot of the online features that you can add, as well as a whole host of different banking services. And Scott, I don't know if you want to talk about whether or not you've considered using any of the additional banking services. That's not really in my realm. But in terms of what the end product would be for us, I don't think that we would need any a la carte services, but as we grow, we very well could, if the growth became, to a certain point. But Scott, were there any of the services that you thought we would possibly utilize in the future?
Well, the main thing is, and Andrew and Jessica and I have talked about this too, in terms of what Louisville Metro is doing, people can file electronically. Some taxpayers can file electronically online, and that's ultimately where we want to go, that is an option. I mean, we'll always take walk-ins and paper returns, but they're doing that right now with this vendor. So that's, something that would certainly open up to us another barrier we could remove, especially for the larger payroll providers. They would like that as well. Now that's going to require local ordinance. It's going to be more of a legislative first step for that. But yes, that is certainly something where, that's kind of part of our end game, part of our overall strategic plan is we'd like to make electronic online filing. That's the future. I mean, my grandkids will never understand why we ever used paper to file our taxes. So, that's where it's going. And we need to be prepared for that. So that's the main thing. In terms of where we are right now, I mean, one of the services to be provided here is and really where we hope the rubber meets the road with this is that we can create a digital file to where this will auto-populate into our existing tax software, and our database services provider indicates that is a very realistic possibility. And again, that just a game changer where essentially we would come in at 8 o'clock in the morning and just hit the ground running because everything will already be in the tax system. It'll already be scanned, what they picked up from the PO box yesterday, and the money will be in the bank. So that's already included where we are. And I can't overstate how, like Jessica said, how big of a game changer, what a paradigm shift that's going to be for us here in terms of daily operations. But certainly the electronic digital online filing is long range where we want to remove a barrier and make that a possibility.
I just want to add two things to that. One, that I think this really takes us, if we weren't already there, it certainly gets us there to the upper echelon of revenue collecting agencies for local government in Kentucky. And two, this won't just be cost neutral. This will be a revenue generating addition to the agency, because that small amount you see there, $38,000 a year, it pales in comparison to what our staff will be able to uncover in auditing all the files in terms of money that should have been paid to us that wasn't. So I think we should be really proud of this.
And I would just add one more thing to that, because I do believe, I completely agree that it'll be revenue generating because of the time we can spend on compliance projects. I mean, we've only just barely scratched the surface with available local resources for compliance projects, and they've already led to several $100,000 being collected. And that's with staff dedicating more than half of their day to mail and administrative processing. So I think that the great thing is we'll have a start date and we can begin tracking those efforts to really see what this time frees up and how much revenue is collected during that time. But I do think the numbers will continue to improve with this time, because we're essentially buying time for every staff member that's at the Revenue Commission. Myself included.
Yeah, and I would only add, echo what Jessica's saying. I'm working on some hard data for Andrew right now, what we already have collected with some of these efforts that we're doing. What we're talking about here and what Andrew said is absolutely true. I guess the best way to characterize it's going to turbocharge these efforts. And I'm also putting together some information. This is not, untested theory. It's one of those things. It works every time it's tried at the federal, state, and local level, internationally. And I've got some case studies and some information I'm going to give to Andrew as well. But this is one of those things where we, like Jessica said, we've really only scratched the surface here. And this is a big piece to turbocharging this effort.
Mayor, you're muted.
Thank you. We've known for some time that getting to this lockbox status would be a significant next step for us in our level of sophistication of operations. So That's a good step. Scott, exactly what action are you asking us for today?
Just approval to proceed as we presented this here to you. It's a, I think tentative is the word Jessica used, unless there's a material change in this cost, at what point, at which point we'd obviously come back to the board and present that to you for
Yeah.
future.
So my theory was that since we know what the terms of the contract are, you all could go ahead and approve it in what I like to call in substantially similar form. So unless we get into contract negotiations and something happens and they say we can't do that,
Okay.
would not come back to you again. You would have already approved it and we would just move forward.
Good. Is there a commissioner willing to make such a motion?
I don't mind to make that motion.
I'll make the second.
Thank y'all. Are there any further questions on this big step for the Revenue Commission? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Or any opposed? Well, Jessica, congratulations. That's as you get this implemented, it's a new day at the Revenue Commission.
Everyone is very excited to not have to open all of that mail for hours a day. So it's going to be really exciting. And I think it's going to lead to a lot more revenue.
Yeah. Okay.
And-
Thank you.
And one last thing, that an RFP of this magnitude we've not done before, and I just want to hats off to Andrew and Stacy who have helped guide us through this, because we use the city's portal to do this and keep it legal. So thanks to them for guiding us through this process and keeping us on the straight and narrow.
Thank you. Thank them. I'll tell the council. All right, Scott, we have an abatement request.
We do. Let's see here. Just one this month. It is an approval. We are recommending approval. This particular taxpayer is requesting $64.60 in net profit, late filing penalties and interest for the tax year 2019. In this case, the taxpayer's tax preparer and bookkeeper passed away suddenly, and they were unable to access their business records. This does fit within our policy, and we are recommending that they have established reasonable cause, and we should approve this. You'll see the breakdown there. $50 of it is penalties. Interest is $14.60. There is no city portion on this. It's just a county and the school board. So the county P&I abatement here is $33.73, and the school is $30.87. And again, we're recommending approval.
I make the motion to approve as recommended.
I'll second that.
Thank you all. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries, Scott. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we move on to a refund greater than.
Yes, we have 3 of these this month. They kind of run that way. I went back and looked. I think April's the last time we had one. So the first one here is a net profit request for tax year 2021. It's $34,710.45. Sorry, Mayor, this is a city-only one. There's this particular taxpayer had been paying city tax in error. The business is actually located outside of the city limits. So in an audit review, we found that. And after a thorough review of the whole account, we are recommending approval of this refund for $34,710.45.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Scott.
All right, number 2 is also for tax year 2021, also a net profit request. This one is $29,356.17. You can see the city, county, and school board breakdown. In this case, there were 2 factors that contributed to this large refund. One is the taxpayer overestimated their net profit tax deposits, which is what you want to do to avoid penalties and interest, but maybe not this much of an overestimation. Secondary factor is their local apportionment percentage. The amount of business they did in our jurisdiction dropped a little bit in 2021 as well. So those were both factors. But after a thorough audit review, we recommend to the commissioners that this refund over $10,000 also be approved.
Motion to approve.
Thank
I'll
you,
make a
Judge.
second. Yeah, I'll second that.
And seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Scott. That one carries.
And the last one this month is another net profit request for tax year 2021. $17,703.05 is the total of the refund. You can see the city, county, and school board portions of that. Like the last one, this is a situation where the taxpayer remitted a large deposit with their extension request, which is a common thing but they overshot it a little bit here, leading to this refund. But we did a thorough review of this taxpayer's account, and we are recommending that the commissioners also approve this request.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, Scott, those are approved.
Thank you all very much. Now we will general discussion. I think you'll like this. First of all, the KEDFA and BSSC reports. Like last month, we had another project. It's also an animal clinic, a KEDFA project. This is not something where, like a KBI down here, where we'll be giving any payroll tax money back. It's a very small project. It's a state tax incentive, but it does show up on the Scott County report. This was approved September 29th for this particular business. So no BSSC grants or anything, but on the KEDFA, we do have this one. So no action required here, just FYI, so that you know what's going on in terms of financial incentives in our community.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions on that?
No, sir.
All right. So we also have our financial tax incentive reimbursement for this particular employer. The reason for all the blank spaces, they changed this report up a little bit, and there's some potentially a little bit more detailed payroll information than we probably should put up there. So I've redacted that. But the important part down here is it's got the August 120,000 per jurisdiction. No change there. It's the same every month, and you can just see the progress as we move forward to them reaching the 10-month cap on this. Again, no change here, no action required, just keeping you in the loop on this. Any questions? All right. So the monthly tax collection stats for September, another robust month. Year over year, the same month in September 2021, we're up $631,000 in collections. That's 16.5% overall. The city saw an increase of 196,000 for the month, or almost 13%. County 344,000, almost 20% there is their increase. And the school board saw a healthy $90,000 over the prior year over year collections, which is a 17% increase. So a very strong month in September. And we will go over now to the companion piece here, which is, how does this fit into the quarterly collection stats? Well, I've plugged in these September numbers I just shared with you, and we have started off this fiscal year very strong. Overall collections are up over $1 million after the first quarter. City's portion of that's 346,000. The county's is over $500,000, and the school board's a healthy $141,000 increase so far after the first quarter of collections. So a very robust start to the new fiscal year in terms of occupational tax collections. Any questions on that?
They are good, robust numbers, Scott. I'm trying to envision since such a large portion of the county's economic activity occurs within the city limits, I'm trying to figure out what economic activity would lead to that's outside of the city limits that would lead to such a difference in numbers. Since typically they're not completely congruent, but they ain't far from being congruent.
Yeah, we'd have to dig into the individual data for the taxpayers and try to see if there's any outliers or anything that's contributing to that. But we could certainly research that for you.
I mean, does that seem to be an anomaly to you based on how these normally track, or not?
Well, the county is always higher, in most cases, higher than the city, unless there's a big payment we get in for somebody that's not been paying city tax over a number of years. You might see it exceed that, but it usually is just because there's, all of the businesses that are in the city are also in the county, but then there are some that are obviously outside of the city limits. But we could try to isolate that. That is an interesting point.
Is
Yeah.
Scott, total
Yeah.
collections, or is this payroll and net profit? I didn't see the beginning.
It's aggregate, it's payroll and net
Okay.
profit.
So I would just say that there's been a lot of issues with two very large payroll providers, and they're not remitting county taxes. So a ton of our collections this year with the annual reconciliations have been focused on county withholding because the largest payroll provider has been doing it incorrectly for several hundred different employers. That
Okay.
might be contributing to it. I can't say that that's all of it, but I know that those numbers are very high because there are a lot of really big accounts, and we've had quite a headache with regards to all of it.
Yeah, intuitively, it just seems a little high, and that's probably a good explanation. So thank you for that. And if anything pops up, I was just curious.
And Tammy is really the one that's dealing with this particular payroll provider, and I've asked her to start copying me on some of these emails because their response is a little less than ideal. So I may have to step in and get involved here. But they are relatively new to this size and scope of these particular employers, and it's been a little inconsistent, I'll say.
Okay, thank you. But the robust nature of the numbers are really good to see.
Yes, we're off to a very good start. I'm going to be looking very closely at because we just had the October 15th, or in this year 17th filing deadline to see what the net profit returns look like, because now we've got most of those in now. The folks that filed an extension in April have now filed with us. So as we process those and see what those numbers look like, I'm going to be anxious to see where we are.
Okay, thank you. Anything else for general discussion?
Yes. Our new accounts, 106 new accounts is what we're averaging per month after the first 9 months. We are currently sitting after the September numbers at 953 with October, November, and December to go. So we are easily going to break 1,000 new accounts opened, 612 closed. We're averaging 68 closed accounts, but you can see we had a couple of large months of closed accounts where we were cleaning up some accounts. We talked about that before. Here's the same period last year where we were. So we're clearly outpacing the new account registrations, and again, the closed as well because of the account maintenance. September, we had 88 new businesses open accounts with us and 27 closed. And then that compares with September of last year, what that looks like. So just new and closed accounts update for you there if you have any questions on that.
Continues to be an attractive picture.
It is. It is. So there's no questions or any other general discussion item?
Any questions from the judge or Mr. Parker?
No, sir.
Nope.
Scott, we got a next meeting right before Thanksgiving.
We do. There are 5 Wednesdays in November. So the 4th one is the 23rd, the day before Thanksgiving. I don't think that works very well for anybody. We've handled this differently a lot of different years, but Andrew has made a great suggestion that Jessica and I really like, and that is to do a hybrid November-December meeting, maybe the 1st or 2nd week of December. At that time, I'll also be presenting the mid-year budget adjustment, but that might work better for everybody. We almost always cancel December just because everybody's out and using that PTO, things of that nature. So what do the commissioners think about that?
What would be the date recommended, Scott?
Well, let's see. December 7th would be the first Wednesday. The 14th would be the second, if we want to keep it on a Wednesday, if that works for everybody.
Either of those work for me, as long as we are staying within the legality of what we're allowed to do. I love the idea of that for November, December, this meeting and beyond.
I agree with Mr. Parker.
Yeah, and because I know you all don't want to see all of us the day before Thanksgiving. You're likely to be traveling somewhere or cooking a turkey or something.
Exactly.
So for your all's future reference, I think you've come up on a plan. Was that a motion?
Sure.
Thank you, Billy.
Yes, sir.
I can't.
So are we doing the 7th or the 14th?
Whichever
Seven.
date works best for you. Mayor.
I'm agreeable with either.
I'm agreeable with either.
Andrew,
Go
does
ahead
the
and
7th work for you, Andrew? You're muted, Andrew.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yes, it does.
Go ahead and get it out of the way.
All right, so we'll call it Wednesday, the 7th of December at 10 a.m.
Sounds great.
That's a deal. That's a good outcome.
Great idea, Andrew. Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else to come before the commission this morning?
I have nothing. Jessica, did I miss anything?
Nope, that's everything I had.
Sounds good. Well, thank you all for your time this morning. And with that, is there a motion for adjournment?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, sir.
Make a second.
And Judge will second. We can vote with our feet.
All right. Good